Every fan watching game, one of the 2025 WNBA playoffs between the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream, could see it. The game wasn't just decided by hustle, talent, or execution. It was tilted by the officials, and time after time, the Fever were left battling not just the Dream, but the whistles too. In this breakdown, we're calling out every single moment where the referees sabotaged Indiana's chances. From blown calls on defense to unnecessary technicals, this was a masterclass in how officiating can change the flow of a playoff game. Let's go moment by moment. The first glaring mistake came early when Aaliyah Boston was matched up against Bree Jones. On the play, Boston was in perfect defensive position, forcing Jones to her weaker hand. Instead of earning a clean bucket, Jones extended her left arm and slapped away Boston's hand to create space. Somehow, the whistle went against Boston. The refs called her for a foul that she didn't commit. Indiana challenged the call, and the replay confirmed what everyone already knew. Boston didn't foul. She got fouled. The Fever won the challenge, but the damage was already done. Not only did they burn one of their precious challenges, but the flow of the game had already been disrupted. A correct call from the start would have prevented all of it.
You can see Aaliyah Boston guarding Bree Jones, and then you can see Bree Jones goes up with her right hand and she takes her left hand and kind of pushes Aaliyah Boston's hand away. Now they called the whistle right here saying that Aaliyah Boston hit her arm, but as you can see, Bree Jones is the one who's kind of slapping away Aaliyah Boston's arm.
Then came the second insult, this time against Lexi Hull. Ryan Howard was bringing the ball up, trying to shake free, and Hull played picture-perfect defense. Backpedaling, arms straight up, staying in front without reaching. Everything coaches dream of. Howard lost her balance, tripped over her own feet, and the officials rewarded her with a foul call. This wasn't physical play, it wasn't even contact worth mentioning. If anything, Hull grazed Howard's arm for a split second, the kind of incidental contact that happens on every possession. Indiana challenged again, and once again the referees were overturned. That's two consecutive mistakes, both of them blatant, both of them costing the Fever their only lifeline for the second half. And this was still in the first half of the game.
If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexi Hall's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back. Lexi doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time. She has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexi played here. And I was screaming about it on the live stream. I was like, Ryan just tripped over her feet. Like, there wasn't contact there. She absolutely just tripped.
What makes this worse is the larger context. Under playoff rules, a team can only use 2 challenges per game, and those challenges are only retained if successful. The Fever had now used both, had been proven right twice, and still had no way to protect themselves from bad calls later in the game. The referees had essentially boxed them into a corner. From that point forward, every call was out of their hands, and with the way this crew was officiating, it was a nightmare waiting to happen. These weren't minor slip-ups, they were momentum killers. Boston's phantom foul disrupted her rhythm in the paint. Hull's bogus foul robbed Indiana of one of its best defensive possessions in the opening minutes. And both plays set a tone that the Fever weren't going to get a fair whistle.
Lexi Hull runs into her. They not only call it a foul, but they actually review this to be upgraded to a flagrant, believe it or not.
You could feel the frustration mounting, not just from the players, but from the bench and the fans watching at home. If the overturned fouls on Boston and Hull set the stage, the true breaking point came in the second half, when frustration boiled over and the referees doubled down on questionable calls. At the start of the fourth quarter, the Fever were trailing but still within striking distance, down just 10 points. Every possession mattered, and instead of letting the players decide it, the officials took over. It began with a no call that drove the Indiana bench wild. There was clear contact on a Fever drive to the basket, yet the whistle stayed silent. Players looked around in disbelief, waiting for the sound everyone in the arena expected. Nothing. In that moment, the entire bench erupted. Even Coach Stephanie White left her seat, storming halfway onto the court to demand answers. That's when the technical came. A playoff coach, fighting for her team, hit with a tech not for profanity, not for unsportsmanlike conduct, but simply for challenging the refs on a play they botched. Atlanta got the free throw, and more importantly, the momentum. Instead of Indiana cutting into the lead, the gap widened.
Coach Stephanie White and Odyssey Sims also both got technical fouls, and I felt like this was really a turning point in the game because the score was 53-63. Atlanta was up by 10, but there was contact at the other end of the basket that the referees once again missed. And Coach Steph White, honestly, the entire bench ran off the bench, started going at the referee, and then Coach Stephanie White just followed her to half court. She got teed up. I was happy that Coach Steph White did this. Like, if anyone needs to get a tech in this situation when it comes to arguing with the refs, it should be the coach.
And it didn't stop there. Only moments later, Odyssey Sims became the next target. After being tripped, Sims fell to the ground, clearly frustrated. She slapped the ball away in irritation, maybe said something under her breath, and was immediately slapped with a technical foul of her own. 2 technicals, back-to-back, both against Indiana, both for trivial actions that could have easily been managed with a warning. In a playoff game, with the season on the line, the refs chose to escalate. That decision crushed any chance the Fever had of mounting a comeback.
There was another play, it was never cleared up. Odyssey Sims, she got tripped by someone, was on the ground. The refs blew the whistle, but then Odyssey Sims kind of slapped the ball away. And then I think she said something because if they called the tech on her just slapping the ball away, also again, that was so trivial.
Think about what those calls did. Indiana was already battling a physical Atlanta team that thrived on contact. Instead of rewarding their grit, the referees punished the Fever twice in succession, handing free points and momentum to the Dream. In a tight playoff contest, momentum is everything. Those whistles broke Indiana's rhythm, silenced their bench, and gave Atlanta even more energy to close the game out. The irony is hard to miss. Earlier in the season, coaches and players across the league had been warning about the officiating. Everyone knew the referees had been inconsistent. Yet when the playoffs arrived, the expectation was that the quality would rise to the occasion. It didn't. If anything, it got worse. Indiana proved with 2 successful challenges that the referees were already missing obvious calls. When the Fever ran out of challenges, the game spiraled because there was no safety net left to protect them from mistakes. And when they dared to protest, they were punished. The scoreboard showed Atlanta pulling away, but the story within the game was about control. The referees had it, and Indiana didn't. Players could sense it. Fans could feel it. Every missed call or technical reinforced the idea that the Fever weren't just playing against Atlanta. They were playing against the officials, too. For a young team trying to prove themselves on the playoff stage, that's a weight too heavy to carry. What made this loss sting even more for Indiana wasn't just the specific blown calls, but the overall inconsistency in how the game was officiated. Atlanta's physical style was allowed to thrive, while Indiana was punished for even the lightest touches. When Lexi Hull brushed Ryan Howard's arm, it was a foul. But when Bree Jones shoved Aaliyah Boston off her spot, play went on until Indiana had to beg for a review. That uneven standard tilted the floor from the opening minutes and made it nearly impossible for the Fever to settle into their rhythm. The longer the game went, the worse it looked. The early pace was fast, free-flowing, and competitive, but the referees slowed it to a crawl. Whistles disrupted possessions. Unnecessary reviews killed momentum, and physical drives with no calls left players frustrated and confused. Instead of a clean playoff showcase, the game turned into a choppy battle of frustration. The Fever's finesse, built on ball movement and timing, was smothered not just by Atlanta's grit, but by officiating that refused to allow the game to breathe. Afterward, Coach Stephanie White didn't hold back. In her post-game presser, she made it plain, the refs were horrible the whole game. That wasn't emotion talking. It was the reality every player and fan saw. Indiana was forced out of its identity. They weren't beaten solely by better play. They were outdogged in a game where the officials rewarded aggression and punished finesse.
What did you think was the biggest downfall in the second and fourth quarter for you guys?
The fouls. I mean, I think we get momentum, and then, there's 4 or 5 foul calls in a row, and, they get some opportunities. I think it stopped the flow of the game. It didn't allow us to get up and down in transition.
And this isn't an isolated incident. Around the league, Coaches, players, and fans have voiced the same frustration all season long. The Lynx last year even felt their finals were rigged by a phantom foul call. It's become a pattern, and instead of cleaning it up for the postseason, the refereeing has only dragged the product down further. This is where the WNBA has a choice to make. Either they get serious about fixing the quality of officiating by training referees better, holding them accountable, and giving players consistency, or they risk losing credibility. Because fans can live with losing to a better team. What kills interest is losing to the whistle. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment below telling us which blown call frustrated you the most. Share this video with other WNBA fans as we can keep pushing for accountability.